Chers amis, bienvenue à notre deuxième session dans la série de vidéos qui porte sur le thème de la communauté. J'aimerais bien remercier le père Rob Arsenault, qui est le compagnon de la croix, un prêtre qui œuvre avec nous dans notre diocèse depuis quelques années et que vous connaissez peut-être à cause des différents services qu'il nous rend à travers le diocèse. Il va nous partager ses expériences et son cheminement comme prêtre et réfléchir sur le sens que la communauté veut dire ou veut exprimer pour lui. Dans cette conversation, je vous invite à considérer donc qu'est-ce que ça veut dire être une communauté chrétienne. Est-ce que votre paroisse est une communauté vraiment, une communauté de chrétiens? Quels sont, autrement dit, les éléments essentiels pour assurer qu'une paroisse puisse être aussi une vraie communauté chrétienne? Mais dans notre conversation, pour assurer notre avenir comme Église. Alors, une communauté chrétienne qui se structure, qui s'organise et qui veut être prête pour l'avenir. C'est ça le défi de ce deuxième vidéo. Alors, le Père Rob nous donne un exemple dans sa présentation. Il dit, si un étranger arrivait chez vous qui ne connaît pas ce que veut dire se rassembler pour célébrer l'Eucharistie, il arrive chez vous, il entre dans l'Église, bien, qu'est-ce qu'il va retenir? Quel sera l'effet et l'impact sur cet étranger qui ne sait pas qu'est-ce que c'est être une communauté chrétienne? C'est une très bonne question parce que ça porte sur la célébration. On dit bien célébration, mais est-ce qu'il y a la joie? Est-ce qu'il y a l'action de grâce présente et visible dans votre communauté? Et pour ce qui est des autres sacrements, comment sont-ils célébrés? En fin de compte, est-ce qu'ils sont tous célébrés dans votre communauté? Alors, ce sont des questions très importantes parce que, en effet, il y a peut-être des communautés chrétiennes, de foi chrétienne, mais qui ne sont plus des paroisses. Et cela a besoin d'être abordé parce que nous avons à travers le diocèse actuellement des situations, vous le connaissez très bien vous-même dans la région acadienne, où à cause du manque de personnel, à cause du manque de prêtres, à cause de diminution des pratiquants, la paroisse est une structure, mais souvent une structure vide. Il lui manque quelque chose d'essentiel. C'est la dimension communauté. Et une communauté, c'est une communauté particulièrement quand elle s'engage à prendre soin des autres. S'il n'y a pas ce soin des autres, bien, c'est simplement un rassemblement de personnes qui veulent recevoir un service pastoral occasionnel. Quelle est la réalité chez vous? Dans un troisième temps, on parle de l'importance de l'organisation et des structures de nos paroisses. Et ça, c'est une question très concrète et pratique. Je vous invite à discuter qu'est-ce que cela veut dire pour vous. C'est le temps de voir à la viabilité de nos paroisses pour l'avenir. En fin de compte, est-ce qu'elles sont vraiment des paroisses? Comment sommes-nous appelés à nous restructurer pour l'avenir? Avez-vous dans votre paroisse tout ce qu'il faut pour être une vraie paroisse? Qu'est-ce qui vous manque? Vous pouvez me dire, il nous manque des prêtres. Bien, on n'a plus de prêtres. Mais comment on s'organise pour être une communauté chrétienne? Alors donc, à travers le diocèse, nous sommes pris par des difficultés et des problèmes très, très importants et nous avons besoin d'aborder notre planification pastorale en tenant compte de ces réalités très concrètes. Je vous invite donc à partager entre vous ces questions et voir qu'est-ce que vous pouvez proposer comme avenir et comme action à prendre pour assurer que la foi chrétienne puisse continuer dans votre région. Alors, merci beaucoup.
I've been asked to give a reflection on community. And as a priest, in the service that I've done over the 20 years, it's not that often that you see something completely different, something that just really shakes up your understanding of the faith. We do this so consistently, we think we kind of know it. This is something I was watching in Robert Barron, Father Robert Barron, his Catholicism series. And he talked about sacrifice, that it wasn't unique to Christianity to sacrifice to appease the gods. That idea had been around for a long time. But what Robert Barron did is he turned it the other way. He said, in Christianity, it's God who sacrifices to appease us. And that changed. I remember when I saw that, and I knew that. I think I knew that. But I don't think I really understood that. And that change changed me. We were given the gift of the sacraments. We were given the gift of the Eucharist. How are we stewards of that gift, and how do we share that gift with others? I wanted to make that kind of the foundation piece for our reflection. Holy Father says, in many places there's an administrative approach that prevails over a pastoral approach. It is a consecration on the administrating of sacraments apart from forms of evangelization. What Holy Father is saying is we can become administrators, and that we focus everything on a valid sacrament. Now, sacraments have an authority and a power, but if we make those exclusive, it's because there's a valid sacrament does not make a Eucharistic community. Those are different things. If you've heard me talk, you may have heard me make reference to a guy, Jim Harrington. Now, who knows Jim Harrington? There's no reason that you should know Jim Harrington. Jim Harrington is a self-described good old boy from Louisiana. He became a Baptist minister, and he served in the Houston, Texas area. The other thing about him was he was an efficiency expert, a little unusual in an administrator. And he worked with some major corporations in how to make their companies more effective and more efficient. Probably because of that and some other characteristics, he was appointed, he was like the Baptist Bishop of Houston. Not quite, different ecclesiology, but you get the idea. He's working with 800 different churches. He looks at the numbers. Now, at first, it looks good. There's a lot going on. I mean, we looked at our numbers. We had 600,000 hours, a lot of it around the Eucharist, around the liturgy. But he looks a little closer, and when he notices the growth rate, the churches are not growing as fast as the city was. We're losing ground. But even more so, anecdotally, pastors are doing more than they've ever done. They're more work than they've ever had, and they're getting less and less results. And there's something in that, I think, that speaks to our experience as well. I ask this question a lot when I do parish missions. It's very revealing, and I think it kind of sets a tone in a way. Anybody here have someone in their family or someone they know personally who used to be connected to the church but no longer attends? Anybody out there? It's rare that I don't see all the hands, including my own family, people that I know as well. We got a problem. We have a situation. We have many good things that are happening. There's no question. There sort of almost seems to be the exceptions to the rule. If you've been to a Steubenville event, or if you've ever had the chance to go to World Youth Day, you see there are great gatherings and wonderful things that do take place. But there seems to be something missing, at least on a more local level in our parishes. What is that something? Like, what is this difference? Dr. David Dean was giving a talk a couple weeks ago, and I was able to attend it. Now, if you want some deep theology, you need a deep theologian, like Dr. David Dean. But what I took from the talk is sort of this notion of in modern thinking, we've been more associated with ideas and almost a legalism that's crept into our thinking, and not always from the heart. And he was talking about a faith that moved from just a legalism to experiential. And could that be also said of community? That when we come together, is it simply something that we do? Or is the liturgy something who we are? It's a reflection of our Catholicity. It's a reflection of everything that we're about, that we celebrate together, but it's not exclusive to that moment. As if when we leave church, we kind of take off the cloak and go back to our secular lives. I don't think this was ever what it was intended to be. I think of my grandmother, Zita Jack the Cook Poirier, Summerside, Prince Edward Island. The question, does God exist? I don't know if she would really know what that meant. She'd understand the words, but she was so much of faith a part of her life, and Mass was so important and integral to who she was. I just can't imagine that she would really could think any other way. Now that was my grandmother. What about us? How about the way that we live our lives? Is that a reflection of how we see the Mass and the gift that we've been given in that time? The celebration of the Eucharist, although it is the fullness of a sacramental life, it's not a prize for the perfect, but powerful medicine and nourishment for the weak. This is the Holy Father reminding us of this. It's not a thing for only saints. In fact, saints are there, but in a different form. It's for all of us, people who are in need. The amazing thing about the Eucharist is I don't know if you had this experience when you were younger, but my grandmother used to say to me, if you keep eating potatoes, you're going to start to look like a potato. As I reach middle age, that's actually a sort of truth to that. But we don't. Potatoes become us. And the Eucharist is the opposite. In a sense, we are to become more like Christ. And when we become more like Christ, we have to see the way Christ sees. And that it's not just a thing for my personal benefit. It's sort of strange in the sense that our church exists primarily for the benefit of those who may not attend and for the whole world. As I become more Christ-like, I can see outside the doors more of what there needs to be. It kind of overlaps a little bit with the sense of mission, but as I understand that it's not us and them, it's us. And how do I better serve? Michael White's book, Father Michael White, Rebuilt, was a parish that took on just this simple notion. What's the experience of somebody who comes to church maybe just once in a while? What's their experience of our liturgy? Would they feel welcome? Would they feel like they're a part of it? Or is it like a private club? I don't assume that you know this, but there's a TV show, a reality TV show called Bar Rescue. Big burly guy comes from, I think, from Philadelphia. Now, it's a little over the top. I can't believe this. What's going on here? Probably too much for most of our liturgy meetings. But wouldn't it be interesting to put a plant in? Someone who maybe isn't even Catholic. If they showed up at one of our liturgies, would someone ask them who they were? Would the information given be clear enough that they would understand what they're talking about? Could they participate, at least as much as they were able, in what was happening? Or would it all seem like a bit of a secret? Would they go away joyful? Or would they go away wondering, well, why do people do this? We could pay someone $50 a Mass. That may be the best $150 we ever spent, because we learn a whole lot more about ourselves. We need homilies that are engaging, and music that captures something of who we are, and a hospitality which is genuine. A lot of organizations work on welcoming, but if it has that sort of feel to it, like we're going through the motions just because it's sort of what we're supposed to do, then I wonder how authentic it really would be. All of us want more for our parishes. All of us would want more people there, maybe more young people in particular. If we're going to have more fruit, I think we need to till the soil. We have to make the community a place that provides that fruit. There are things that we can do to be more of all of these things, simple things, but beneficial things. So as we go to break, I want to encourage you to have a really honest discussion It's not so much the what I want or the argument for my parish and its existence or its function, but what's the actual experience? And how can we make that experience more, not just for ourselves, but for everyone? Amen? So I want to continue to talk about community life. And I have a different kind of aspect of this from my own personal life. For many years, I was a diocesan priest for 10 years. And then I was freed up to join the Companions of the Cross. Now, when I was a diocesan priest, I lived alone for 8 of those years. And I was a charming, charming man. I liked people. I socialized with them. I met with them. I would have dinner with them. And then you all went home. When I first joined community life, it was a difficult transition. That's a nice way of saying that. What am I really saying? Turns out, I was a bit of a jerk. What do I mean by that? I was self-willed. I liked having things my own way. When it came to my personal life, it was different. Now, as long as I lived alone, see, it was easy because it was just me. I took care of me. But when I lived with other people, I had to change some of what I did and put others first. Now, I want to tell you that was wonderful. It was difficult and it was challenging. But I don't think I would ever want to go back to living alone. There's something about sharing your life with others that may be a challenge, but it gets to the heart of what we're supposed to be as church. That we're in this together. So remember the movie Gladiator, Russell Crowe's character. He's in a very challenging situation. They're being brought into the Colosseum. They're going to be slaughtered. There's something about to happen. Come through that door. And he says to the others, whatever that is, we'll do better if we stay together. I wish I had all the answers for you, or what's going to happen, or where this all goes. I don't. But I've come to firmly believe we'll do better if we stick together. And the quality of our ministry is very much tied to the quality of our life together. If we trust each other, if we learn to suffer each other's idiosyncrasies and challenges, if we can do that with the people we're close to, then there's a much better chance we can do that with people that come to see us on a regular basis. Maybe people come to visit only once in a while. It's all part of what it is to be the body of Christ. Community is where mercy is made manifest. Mercy is the very foundation of the church's life. All of their pastoral activities should be caught up in the tenderness that she makes present to believers. Nothing in her preaching and her witness to the world can be lacking in mercy. That's what the Holy Father challenges us with. Here's a little exercise for you. The way you're set up right now is a bit liturgical, isn't it? We're kind of focused to the center, and it wouldn't be hard to imagine an altar here. This is the way most churches are built. We focus on the altar, and this is where the sacrifice takes place. Just imagine this, though. What if we were up on the 3rd floor, which looks over the city? What if your seats were turned facing outward? Maybe you had either glass windows or even just free open air that you could see the rest of the city. And with that posture, we started to read the Beatitudes. Blessed are the poor, those who suffer, those who mourn. What would we be looking at? Blessed are those who are persecuted. To pick up your cross and follow me. No greater love than to lay down your life for another. You see, in that posture, you're looking out at others. And I think the gospel takes on a new meaning. And in a very simple ways. People who are trying to get to work on time. Maybe had a big fight with their boss. Someone trying to hustle the kids off to school or organize a hockey practice. The frustrations of life are many. But our focus needs to be not just on ourselves inwardly. Holy Father said in another place that that's a sick church that only looks into itself, but one that's postured to look out as well. We come together with the Eucharist to bring it back into the world. Here's a challenge for you. Take a breath. How long can you hold it before it gets frustrating and painful? You got to let it out so it can do something. What could you do with that outward breath? What word of encouragement could you give? What music instrument could you play? What poetry could you read? This is in so that we can go back out. It is two sides of community. And that the community is more than just us who gather. Our church talks about spiritual works of mercy, to instruct, to counsel, to admonish, to bear wrongs patiently, to forgive offenses willingly, and to comfort the afflicted, to pray for those who have died. This is what we're called to do, to see that it's not just us, but really all of us are a part of this. So what does it look like in practice? Well, mercy forces and reawakens in us new life and installs us the courage to look into the future with hope. Could we see ourselves in small prayer groups where we meet in a more personal way? Are there opportunities to gather outside of Mass in other forms of service or even of formation or of just plain fellowship? Isn't it good just to be together? Maybe we need more hospitality for those in need with a dignity, not just about the bare minimum. We feed people, but we feed people in a way that restores their sense of belonging, that they are part of what we're about. I think in our relationships as we partner with others, there are a lot of people out there who want to do something more, something greater. Who can we connect with? People we haven't always with, like other churches or other organizations that are doing good work in the city. Can we not partner up with them? Can we not work together? Is this not possible? There's an expression in the church that we are the sleeping giant, that there's 1 billion of us out here in this world. What if they could wake up? What if they could actually do the work of God together? You see, because even the 1 billion Catholics are still responsible for the other 5 billion. How can we serve them in a more complete way? The Pope's latest encyclical is clear. There's no us and them. On this planet, we share a common home. How do we do that more effectively? How do we do it more completely? I wanted to share with you one last little thought of this. If we could somehow evangelize 1,000 people a day, that's good, isn't it? In the course of a year, we'd have 365,000 people. I'm told, I don't do the math very well, over 100 years, that'd be 35 million. That's quite a community. Bobby, in 100 years, that might be the population of our country. It's impressive. But you have to evangelize 1,000 people a day. If you take a day off, it's 2,000 the next day. That's a lot. It's hard to keep that going. What if I gave you another option? Could you make a disciple? Could you be in community with one person in a whole year? That sounds a lot better, doesn't it? You got a whole year to share your faith with them, to bring them into community with you that you could trust and have the honest conversation and the basic teachings of the faith. So at the end of that year, they'd be ready to go out and make a disciple themselves. Now, at the end of that year, you could go to a conference together on a motorcycle legally. There's only 2 of you. There's not 300,000. There's 2 of you. And even after 4 years, you'd probably fit in a minivan. Even after 10 years of making disciples, it's hard, isn't it? At first, it doesn't seem so impressive. 10 years of making disciples, and they're making disciples, you'd only be at about 450. But 450 engaged people who know the faith, who share it with each other, and are willing to share it with others. There's a point in this exercise when it becomes exponential. Do you know at the end of 40 years what the number is? 10 billion. We actually could spread the good news to the entire world with about 1 billion to spare if we start with one person at a time. And if that community and that connectedness is authentic, if it actually conveys something of the gospel, if it actually makes an ontological difference in people's lives, that becomes more than just an idea or a good argument or a strong case, but it changes people. That's what makes the difference. So don't be afraid. Don't worry about how big it is or where it goes. Let God worry about those things. But engage. Engage with other people authentically and effectively, and trust that makes all the difference. Now in your small groups, I want you to ask each other, what are you doing to engage in the wider community? What are we doing to make ourselves known in a world that maybe has forgotten? How do we warm the hearts of those that may have gone cold? Amen?
Amen.
Our third talk is going to be around systems and structures. Again, the Holy Father's words, a community organized around the mission, that he would dream of a mission option, that is a missionary impulse capable of transforming everything. So the church's customs and ways of doing things, times and schedules, language and structure can be suitably channeled for the evangelization of today's world rather than for its own self-preservation. Can we actually change structure? It's an interesting question. If you remember back to my earlier talk, I said that we have to have a deep change or we're going to be into slow death. This is part of Harrington's talk on why we need to look at what's going on in our world. But here's another problem. The system itself will often stay in order to remain the same. Now, anybody who's ever worked in a parish or anyone's ever been a part of any organization knows that when we try to implement change, people will change to stay the same. Something as simple as, I remember moving chairs one time after a funeral. We just made a little more space in the front. Well, I'll just leave it like that. Well, the chairs came back. Well, I moved them again. Well, they came back again. Like there was somebody on the other side of this. Now, I didn't communicate it. Maybe I didn't get out a clear message on why we were doing this, but it's always been that way. Is that part of our experience? Well, I've just been reflecting on the last few years on something that we've all experienced that has been a tremendous change. If you had asked me 6 years ago, can we have 2 popes? Can a pope resign? I would have chuckled and laughed and said, well, yes, it's happened. I guess technically it's possible, but you're never going to see it in your lifetime. Wrong again. And even when Pope Benedict and courageously stepped aside and said, we need bigger change. And Pope Francis steps into that. There's this great call for renewal. Can one guy make that much of a difference? Well, interestingly, apparently he can. Again, I might have laughed and said, well, come on now, it's thousands of years to get to here. You can't just change that. One guy can't do that. But he did things that are different. He picked up a phone and he started calling people directly. I think it wasn't so long ago, sort of how many people between you and the front door was a sign of status. Well, if the Holy Father can make a personal phone call, how come you're not answering your phone call? It changed things pretty quickly. You are the highest point of leverage in your system, whatever system you're a part of. If you try to change it or change other people, they're going to push back. Change what you do and how you do it, that changes the system. Simple example. You may not know this, but you've all been selected. You are our stars. You are our prime Sunday Catholics. So I'm going to assume you all go to church. Here's a question for you. Do you sit in the same seat? Have you been sitting in that same seat for more than a year? More than 5 years? Had I not brought this up and probably embarrassed you just a little bit, would you be happy to stay in the same seat for the rest of your life? I think most Catholics would answer yes. What if we did something simple? What if we made a change like this? I want you to sit in a different seat. No, it's going to be okay. Really, it's okay. Just move to a different seat. And in the course of 1 month, meet one person who you don't already know and talk to them and find out their name or something about them. So at the end of a year, you would know 12 families that you don't know now. What difference would that make? Can we solve all of our problems by just coming to know a few different families? Well, wouldn't that change the nature of the parish? Especially if there were 10 or 15 other people doing the same thing? In the course of a year or two, we actually get to know each other. Even people go to different masses, but at the same church. As we start to know each other better, it changes us. It changes the group. It changes the dynamic. It's not just the person over there. It's someone whose name I know. And something about them I know. And they know something about me. And we're in this together. Why do we do the same thing over and over again and expect different results? Much has been made recently about the number of clergy. But clergy and religious, we only make up 0.04% of the church. You ever thought about that? What does that mean? That means laity, most of you, make up 99.96%. Where should the renewal happen? Maybe it would be a chance to have people step forward in their charisms and their gifts and have those active in the church. I think we made a reference to a sleeping giant. I think that's a big piece of the giant. Part of my own order, Father Bob, when he founded the Companions, it was not a clerical movement. It was a movement to get people connected to the Holy Spirit and working in their gifts. And that's where the renewal came from. One of the side effects was having a couple extra priests come on board, but it was really about the lay people. And I think our order is kind of rediscovering and kind of get back to that. It's a point I used to make a lot in my own parish, that my job was not to evangelize the world. I always felt my job was to evangelize my parish. Their job was to go out and evangelize the world, to make a difference, to make that a part of our wider community. It is possible to use creativity and still remain faithful to our roots. I think sometimes we think, we can't do it differently. That so it's just going to go off the rails, or, we're going to lose everything. I think Andre Renier, the founder of CCO, is interesting. He has a line. He said, when we make changes, there's a danger that we might turn people off. It's true. But we really don't have to worry about turning people off. We found out earlier, they're already turned off. We need to focus on turning people on and trying things. It doesn't always succeed. It doesn't always hit the ball out of the park, but it doesn't mean we can't make an effort to be a little more creative in how we do things and how we include people. I think there's a sort of an expression that holds true. It's not theologically true, but it's experientially true. That if we don't give away what we have, God might take it away. Now, I don't think that's true. I don't think the Lord takes back his gifts. But experientially, I have felt that at times. When I try to hang on to something so tightly to preserve it or protect it, I forget what it was ever used for. That this is an end, or means to an end. This is how we're supposed to achieve salvation. This is how we're supposed to evangelize. It's a tool to be used, not an object on the wall. Our time, our talent, our treasure, these are all things that we can put into play. I wanted to finish with this. The very best thing that we can do would be a plan with a clear objective that would be effective, that would just really speak into the problems that we're facing. Can we agree on that? That would be the best thing. Here's a question that you may not think of. What's the second best thing we could do? It's actually the wrong thing. That sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? The best thing, it's obvious. A plan that works, that really comes into play, that people can identify with, that's really effective, that is the best thing. But if we can't achieve that, the second best thing we can do is the wrong thing. Things that might fizzle out, or maybe aren't the best ideas, or just didn't get traction for whatever reason. At least we're trying. If the best thing is a great plan that's effective, and the second best thing is the wrong thing, what's the worst thing we could do? It's nothing. That we keep doing what we've been doing and hope that next year somehow it's going to get better. That maybe somebody else has a plan. I think the challenge is somewhat personal. Can we use what we have at this time to expand the boundaries of what we understand church to be? Can we expand out to a wider community? can we, address some of the structures and issues that we face? And to do it without losing the root of our faith, the charity and love of God. It's a challenge. I'm not trying to say it's easy, but I do believe it's possible. I think there's a time when almost I'm between two worlds. I'm being prepared for a church that doesn't quite exist yet, while maintaining one that I'm not sure is going to be completely the way I've experienced it. I think it is possible that some of the decline can be mixed with the renewal of the next round and next generation. Don't be afraid to put those two things together. And don't be afraid of trying. You don't have to be successful. We just have to be faithful. Amen?
Alors, chers amis, j'aimerais conclure la session qui porte sur la communauté en faisant quelques remarques sur la parabole du figuier dans l'Évangile qui est l'Évangile d'aujourd'hui. Cette histoire nous rappelle que pour produire du fruit, il est nécessaire qu'une diversité d'éléments soit réunis de façon harmonieuse pour que le fruit puisse venir. C'est une bonne définition aussi d'une communauté. Une communauté est composée de grandes diversités, mais elle a besoin d'être unifiée, elle a besoin d'être en harmonie pour assurer que cette communauté puisse produire le fruit désiré et voulu. Ce qui me vient à l'esprit, c'est l'exemple d'un couple qui choisit de se marier. C'est deux individus qui s'unissent et qui forment une chair, et le fruit de cette union, c'est la vie, c'est une autre personne, c'est la nouvelle vie. Alors, c'est la même dynamique qui doit exister dans une communauté composée de diverses personnes. On a besoin de s'unir, d'être ensemble, d'avoir une harmonie efficace, et cela produira une nouvelle vie. Peut-être différente de ce qu'on a vécu autrefois, mais quand même une vie importante et nouvelle et dynamique. Alors, c'est ça qu'il faut imaginer pour l'avenir. Est-ce que votre paroisse va devenir une communauté chrétienne qui produit et qui est fructueuse, ou est-ce qu'elle va rester comme le figuier sans fruit? C'est tout un défi, et je vous invite à considérer comment votre paroisse puisse devenir une communauté qui prend soin des autres, qui est en harmonie avec les uns les autres. Et essayez d'imaginer une action concrète qui peut devenir le point de ralliement pour former cette communauté harmonieuse pour assurer notre avenir comme Église. Merci.